Show the exact same portrait to two different photographers and you might get two completely different reactions. One loves it and the other one tears it apart. So who's actually right? Let's dig into it on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey there everybody, welcome back. Here I am, as always, answering your photography questions right here on Adorama TV. Today's question comes from James C. and he wants to know, what makes a good portrait and who decides that? I showed the same photo to two photographers. One thought it was great, the other picked it apart. Is this just photographers being pretentious? Well, thanks for sending that in, James. I want you to know right away, this happens to everyone. You can show the same image to any two people, even working professional photographers, and get two completely different reactions. I vividly remember going to a portfolio review early in my photo career. I wasn't doing much portraiture, but I had what I considered to be some strong sports action and concert images in my book, if I don't say so myself. Most of the reviewers did give me some positive feedback. One person, however, and I wish I could remember who it was, made a huge deal that I should crop out a teeny tiny little section in the corner of one image. I was a bit caught off guard by this and couldn't believe how much time he was taking talking about something that seemed so minor to me. In hindsight, he was right. That little bright spot in the corner was distracting and took your eye away from the strongest part of the image. It's not that he was right and everyone else was wrong. He was just seeing something deeper that the other reviewers either didn't see or they just didn't bother to focus on. Portraits work the same way, and there are multiple levels you can use to gauge a photograph as you get more advanced in your work. So today, let's go down the rabbit hole to see what makes a portrait great. I'll start with the basic technical stuff, then move into the creative tools you build up as you grow as a photographer. And last is the stuff that's harder to pin down, like story and style. At the end, I'm going to give you some practical tips you can use to make your own portraits better. Okay, every portrait, no matter the style or genre, has a technical foundation that it needs to clear. This is pretty much pass or fail. If a photo fails here, style and creativity can't really save it. And let me just say up front that I know there are artistic exceptions to every rule, but I'm not talking about breaking a rule intentionally for creative reasons. This is about not having the technical mastery of your camera or post-processing, so something looks like an obvious mistake. So focus is the big one. The eyes probably need to be sharp unless you're doing something soft and dreamy. If you missed focus, that's not a style choice, no matter what you say. Exposure, that matters too. Are the highlights blown out with no detail left, or are the shadows so crushed that you've lost the person's features? If your exposure is so far out that it's a distraction, then the portrait probably doesn't work. Then there's color accuracy. Does the skin tone look natural, or is an unwanted color cast from bad white balance? And there are also issues like excessive ISO noise, distortion, and severe chromatic aberration that can be a distraction and pull your viewer away from your subject. Two experienced photographers are almost never going to disagree on these technical issues. Those are the first things you've got to get right. If the eyes are soft and the skin tone is orange, I bet no one will decide that that was a bold creative choice. Now, once you've got the technical foundation down, the next stage is about being more creative and learning to use more tools. This is usually the order that photographers naturally grow in. You start out photographing people wherever you happen to find them, just snapping the shutter using the light that's already there. But eventually, you choose locations that support the image, you bring your own light and shape it for the narrative, and you learn to direct and pose your subject in ways that add to their story. From there, it just keeps growing. You consciously choose to use things like composition, whether you're framing tight or leaving dead space, and eye contact and gaze direction to impact the portrait. Someone looking right into the lens creates a totally different feeling than looking off camera. You also make choices on depth of field, whether you want to isolate your subject from the background or have some context that says something about them. Color grading or black and white, and how much retouching, if any, will also impact your portrait as well. A lot of photographers spend their whole career right here working within these parameters, and there's really nothing wrong with that. Plenty of working pros build successful businesses on strong technical skills plus a solid command of these tools. There's no shame in that at all. But it's also where a lot of the distinction between photographers starts to come into play. One photographer might love tight faces in dramatic, moody light, while another thinks a portrait should show the whole environment in flat, even lighting. Neither approach is wrong. What actually separates a great result from a mediocre one isn't which set of tools you pick, it's how deliberately and skillfully you use them. A tight, dramatic portrait created with real command of light is fantastic. That same setup done sloppily with murky shadows and a crop that happened by accident is not, even when you're using the identical same toolkit. Hey, quick sidebar, if you've got a photography question you want me to answer, you know what to do by now. You just go to askdavidbergman.com and submit it right there on the site. If you want to keep up with everything I'm doing, thedavidbergman.com has links to my socials, my free email list, a ton of educational videos just like this one, and a few discount and affiliate links. And if you're enjoying this video, please hit like, subscribe to Adorama's YouTube channel, and tap that bell for notifications. It really helps us keep making free photography content for you every single week. Okay, this last part is the hardest one to learn, but it might be the most important. It's about intention and story. It's the artistic point of view that you bring to an image, and it's usually what separates a good portrait from a genuinely great one. For example, earlier I mentioned location, choosing where you put your subject, but there's a deeper question underneath that, which is, what is this place actually saying about the person in it? The same idea applies to your subject and to the story overall. It's not just who you're photographing and what they're wearing. It's what their expression and posture are telling the viewer. These kinds of things are more than just the technical sum of all of the things I've been talking about. It's what you want someone to feel or understand when they look at the finished image. A lot of the most respected portrait photographers in history have said that technical creative techniques are just really the entry fee. What actually separates a forgettable portrait from a great one is some sense of connection coming through between the subject and the person looking at the photo. Richard Avedon spent his career insisting a portrait was never neutral. He said, all photographs are accurate, none of them is the truth. For Avedon, the photographer shapes the story with every decision that they make. Diane Arbus was drawn to people and moments most photographers overlooked. She said, a photograph is a secret about a secret. For her, a portrait wasn't even supposed to fully explain its subject and left that interpretation up to the viewer. And Josef Karsh, who photographed some of the most famous faces of the 20th century with that classic dramatic studio lighting, believed a portrait should dig past the surface entirely. He said, within every man and woman, a secret is hidden, and as a photographer, it's my task to reveal it if I can. 3 completely different careers, 3 completely different definitions of what makes a portrait work. James, you asked if that photographer was being pretentious for picking your photo apart? I don't think so. Confidently having an opinion isn't pretentious. It's usually a sign of experience. It only crosses the line when someone delivers their opinion as if it's the one and only correct answer, instead of being honest that it's their perspective. So now let's turn all of this into something practical. Here are some tips based on everything we've just covered that you can use to make your own portraits stronger. Number 1, of course, you've got to nail the technical every single time. Sharp eyes, correct exposure, accurate color, none of the creative or artistic stuff matters if this part isn't solid. Number 2, don't just photograph people wherever you happen to find them. Learn to create with light and choose a setting on purpose, even if it's a simple one. Number 3, practice directing and posing your subjects, and don't be afraid to add props if it genuinely supports the story you're telling. Number 4, pay attention to your composition and where your subject's eyes are looking. Those small choices shape the entire feeling of the image. Number 5, before you press the shutter, ask yourself what you want to convey to the viewer. Think about what the subject and setting are actually saying. Number 6, build a real connection with your subject. Talk with them before and during the shoot, not just when you raise the camera. The more comfortable they are, the more of themselves that's going to come through in the images. And number 7, stop chasing universal approval on every single image. Focus instead on developing a consistent point of view across your body of work. That consistency is what eventually becomes recognizable as your style, and it matters a lot more than winning over every critic on every photo. So James, I hope that answers your question and gives you a few new tools as well. What do you all think? Have you ever gotten wildly different feedback on the same photo? Did it shake your confidence, or did it help you figure out your own style faster? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it, check out the video I did about finding your own photographic style. It connects nicely with everything we've been talking about here. Thanks so much for watching Adorama TV. I'll see you next time right here on Ask David Bergman.